everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Kathy at Attic Treasures, etc. And I'm really glad you're here today because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the signatures that I've put together for all of my ephemera and finally put them into a cover. And I decided to make the cover last because it was becoming really obvious to me that what I was making was going to be really chunky. And I wanted to make sure that the cover actually fit the journal that I'm making. Usually I do it the other way around, but I decided to change it up this time and see what happens. So I ended up with 3 signatures, and I haven't totally decorated the signature covers, which is basically cardstock. And on this one I put in some pages from a design book or interior design just for fun. And you know, so they're really fat. So what I decided to do was to take this piece of wallpaper. I hesitate to call it a masterboard. I just had some offcuts from wallpaper samples that I had that I'd used in other projects, and I put it together and sewed it onto a large piece of copy dyed paper and then sewed it all around. And I thought, well, what I would do was to use it for a cover in the future. Well, the future is today, so I'm going to use that. Originally I was going to use it in a flow journal, and I turned up the bottom to be a pocket. But now instead of that, because, let me show you this, when I put all of these signatures inside here, it's almost too small. So I want to perform a little book surgery today to extend the length of my journal cover so that it will be adequate for the sizes of the signatures that I have. So rather than have the bottom turned up as a pocket, I'm going to cut some of it off. And let's see, when I was working with this last night, I actually had it marked where I wanted to cut it, and there it is. It's right there. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so there we go. But I need to hold it this way in order to cut it. So I'm going to cut this little bit off here on the bottom, and then it will be tall enough to accommodate my journal signatures, but I want to make sure that it'll go all the way around. So I'm just going to, let's put this on the line, my little pencil mark here. And I want to make sure it's straight. I can't use my metal ruler because it's too short. So I'm going to use this ruler. I really like using wallpaper in my journals, either as embellishments or as covers or signature covers or whatever. And I got a whole bunch of wallpaper sample books from a local paint store that actually just gave them to me because they were expired, which I thought was quite a nice little score. Okay, so now I'm going to cut this right down the center here, and then I'm going to straighten up all the edges, square everything up. Okay, so I have all my pieces cut and they're pretty squared up, but I need to connect these 2 pieces to this center piece. And the easiest way to do that is to find something that will cover the whole area. And what I decided to use is this packaging from Amazon. It's paper, and I'm just going to tear it along the edges. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these together like so. And I'm going to use art glitter glue, and then I will zigzag across the 2 edges so that they, you know, stay together when I'm folding it. going to start with this piece. And it wants to come apart on me because of the way it was sewn. Or glued to this paper, I guess I should say. And then same thing with these two front and back cover pieces. Okay, I'm going to switch to my Fabri-Tac because this takes too long to come out. By the time I get it all covered with glue, it'll be dry. And I'm just going to butt it right up against the edge of that centerpiece. And this is going to be kind of a soft cover journal, I guess you would say, because I'm not going to stiffen the spine at all. Making sure the glue really adheres and forms a bond. And now just cut around. So now let's see what happens when I put all these in here. Try to wrap this around, and I think that'll work just fine. And I have some pieces of felt that I'm going to use on the front and back part, just to give it some, some nice feel. And also I can cut a piece of felt to put on the inside too, on the spine-ish. And voila! Okay, so before I glue these down, I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and I'm going to zigzag stitch these together. So I will be right back. Okay, so I have completed stitching a zigzag stitch, joining these pieces together so that it will fold nicely. And now I'm going to get on with the project by adding these pieces of felt. I'm just going to place them on here, and then that way I will know where to place the center one, which I will glue on first. So grab my Fabri-Tac again, and leaving the two outside ones in place, I'm going to put the Fabri-Tac right here on the paper. And it's so much easier to glue the paper than it is to glue the felt, because the felt or the glue wants to like stick to the felt, and it just keeps pulling it up while you're trying to glue it, and it pulls up all the fibers and stuff, and it's really quite annoying. Okay, so I'm going to lay this one in here. And you notice I'm not going all the way to the edges, and there's a reason for that, and it's because I'm going to add another piece inside here and sew it all around, and that way I'm not sewing through too many thicknesses. Let's get this piece on. And I just want this to be a real simple cover. I'm not going to embellish it with a lot of lace or anything like that, like I like to do with some of my covers, because this is basically a reference book is what it is, for me to be able to look back on some of the ephemera that I've made during Defemember and then use those as jumping off ideas for future embellishments and journals. Maybe even do some mass makes with some of the pieces. That would be kind of fun, I think. Do you think that would be a good video? Do you like watching videos where we do mass makes, like on a Mass Make Monday or something? Not making masks, but making things in mass. Did you participate in Defemember? If not, do you think you will next year? It was a ton of fun. I'm really glad I did it. Okay, so that's done. And it'll take a few minutes for that to fully dry, which I like to do before I take it to my sewing machine. But I like putting felt on the inside of my covers because it just gives it this nice feel in the hand, and I just really like that. Now for the last piece, oh, actually, I don't want to put this on yet because I need to determine what I'm going to, how I'm going to close this, what I'm going to use for a closure. Well, I'm back, and I have spent a long time trying to figure out what to do for a closure on this. And in the meantime, I went ahead and I zigzagged through each one of these seams, and I actually ran out of thread right here. It ran right off the spool, so I had this much left to do in black. The rest of it's green, but that's all right. So anyway, I think I have finally decided what to do with the rest of this cover. Now, I know I said that I wasn't really going to embellish it, but who am I kidding? I'm going to have to do something. So the first thing I want to do is to take some of this lace, and I'm going to spray it with some distress ink and oxide. So let me cut it off. I'm going to cut it a little bit long just in case I mess it up too badly. Okay, and then I can trim it. So I'm going to use wild honey and for the spray stain, and then I'm going to use this peacock feathers oxide. Let me get this shaken up. So it's actually the next day. I told my husband, I said, okay, so we have to go to the gym or something because my mind is just, you know, it just wasn't coming up with a solution that I really liked. So we went to the gym, and then we came home, and I still wasn't real satisfied with, you know, things that I was coming up with until this morning. I've been working on it for a little while and finally came up with what I wanted to do. So that's just the way it goes sometimes, isn't it? Okay, so that's that color. And then I really like the combination of wild honey and then this peacock feathers. It gives it kind of a green look, and in the colors of the wallpaper there's actually quite a bit of green. And then I just didn't want something white across the top. So let me run this through the rest of, you know, just kind of blot it on the rest of the ink that's on the wax paper here. And I'm going to dry this and be right back. Okay, I really like the way these turned out. So this is the lace that's going to go around the top of the journal, and then these are going to be on the ends. So I went ahead and sprayed these as well, and I like how they look. They're just kind of rusty and grungy looking. Now to also to go over the top of the journal, I don't want these raw edges to show. I don't know if you can see this, but see, these are like little foam pieces that were inside that Amazon packaging, and I don't want that raw edge to show. So I'm going to take some of this chintzy rug fabric, and I'm going to put it over the top like this. But before I do that, I'm going to sew this lace onto the edge. So I'm going to do that and be right back. Now, if you've never worked with fabric from a chintzy rug before, I do have a video on the kind of rug that you should look for. It's called a jeweled chintzy rug, and when you take it apart, you find the most beautiful fabrics. I mean, they're not all this pretty, but some of them are just really gorgeous. I mean, look at this. And this was just all wrapped up inside a rug. And isn't that pretty? There, you can get a little better look at it there. So they make these rugs in India out of scraps of fabric from their textile factories, and then they come and pick up these scraps and then make rugs out of them. So you can usually get them at Walmart or places like that. So I even saw one at Grocery Outlet, if you have a Grocery Outlet near you. And they're fun to take apart, but you need to look for jeweled chintzy. Some of them that are labeled as chintzy just have like t-shirt type material in them, and nothing really pretty like this. Okay, so I'm going to sew this lace to this brown fabric, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my lace sewn onto this fabric, and my next step is I'm going to glue this strip onto the top of my journal cover. I'm not going to sew it on yet because I need to put the inside of the cover together. So I'm just going to take Fabri-Tac and go along the top. Am I still in frame? Okay. All right, so I'm just going to take some Fabri-Tac and just do, just one little bead of glue along the top here. And just tack that down like so. I'm going to do the same to the bottom with another piece. I'm not going to put lace on the bottom. So I will put a link to my video for what to do with a chintzy rug down at the bottom of the, in the description box below, because they really are quite handy. You do have to wash everything. What I did is I didn't unravel the whole rug, take apart the whole rug all at once. I just took off maybe a third of it, and then pulled the pieces all apart and washed them in a mesh bag. And then when I was done washing it, some of it frays, and it'll get wrapped around each other, around the strips and stuff. But what I did was I just carefully took it all apart by clipping the parts that were frayed, and the strings wrap around each other, clipping those off, and then just hanging them on a line to dry. Okay, so I'm going to put a bead of glue along the top here and wrap that down. And this is going to get sewn all together too, but I don't want to do it while the glue is wet, and I also want to make sure that I get the inside put together. My husband is out in the garage right now working on his helmet for Comic-Con. We want to attend this year. He's going to be Boba Fett from Star Wars. And actually Boba Fett from the new show, the Book of Boba Fett. So he's been working on that for a while. Hopefully he'll get it done in time. Okay, so now that's glued down. And now I want to put the edge lace on. And I'm going to put it this way so that this will be the inside. Okay, now I want to get the ties glued in place, and this is what I'm using for the ties. So I'll just cut this in half. It'll look kind of grungy, kind of tatty, and I'm okay with that. All right, so let's get this lined up so I can make sure that the ties are on the same plane, in the same line. All right, that should hold it in place. So I have this paper. Let's see, that's the top. It's coffee dyed scrapbook paper that I overlapped and made sure, you know, to get it the right length. And then I have these two, they're like little collages. They're collages that I made with a calculator tape. And I did a video on using calculator tape to make collages, and these are going to go on the ends as tuck spots. So now I just want to get this glued down, and I think I'm going to use some double-sided fabric tape to make sure that it's nice and secure. This is called Fabric Fusion, and I use this quite a bit when I'm working with fabric. You get this at Joann Fabrics, or you can order it online. And I'm just about out of this roll, but I think I have more. Okay, hopefully I can get this paper on here with no problem. I have to bring it closer to me so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, I am going to let all of the glue dry and then sew around, and after that I'll be back. Alright, so I've got the paper all sewn on, and the stitching is a little bit wonky, but that's just the way it goes. It was a lot of thicknesses for my sewing machine to go through. Now I've got these two pieces of collage that I want to put on the ends as tuck spots. So I'll get those on, and then I will be ready to punch the holes to sew in the signatures. Put some clips on here just to hold it in place and give it a chance to grab. One thing I was going to do before I glued or taped or sewed on this this interior part was to spray it with some spray stain and some mica stain, and I forgot all about that until afterwards, so I did it while you weren't looking. I'm going to use my Crocodile Big Bite. Okay, so for the size eyelet that I want to use, I need to put it on the 1/8 inch hole. Need to set it for 1/8. And you set it up here, and then the prong that comes down is set at 1/8. If you set it back here, then it has a bigger hole, which is 3/16. I like to use this little backstop, and then that way I can move it this way and still have it be in the same location in this direction. But it's hard to see. Hope that's right. Okay, that's always the most nerve-wracking part of the whole process for me. It's like when you finally put in the buttonholes in a garment when you're making something, and you mess up one buttonhole and everything that you did is toast. So what I use for a backstop is this little thing moves back and forth, but it moves really easily. So I have this big magnet here, and that keeps it in place. All right. Oh, I'm not done with that. We need to put in the eyelets now. So what I have here, I have these 1/8 inch eyelets, and it tells me to set the Crocodile at a setting of C3. I'll show you what that means. So you put it all the way to the front, this little indicator, and then you need to set these things at C3, and there's a little letter on this side and a number on this side, and it's kind of hard to see, but I can barely see it. Sometimes I have to take it to my lighted magnifier to be able to, okay, so it's at the 3, to be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, so let's get these off. This is from the packing paper, these little bits that came through. I really hope this works. If not, then I'll just take the eyelets off and sew them in the regular way without the eyelets. Alright, so we'll try one in the center. Okay, that worked all right. I'm going to have to take the awl and poke out some of the little debris, but yeah, that worked okay. Okay, those worked out really well, so I'm going to do the rest of the eyelets off camera because this would be really boring. Okay, so I'm really happy with the way this came out. I've got all my eyelets in. Have you ever put in a signature upside down to your cover and then had to take it out and put it in again? Well, a trick that I learned a long time ago from Pam at the Paper Outpost is when you make your template, make your second row of holes north of center, so that if you always do that, then you can't put them in upside down. You cannot put the signatures in upside down when you do it this way. So if you just make your template like this, and it doesn't have to be far off center. I have it kind of far off center, but that's just because it's easier for me to see. I can see definitely that this is the top. So anyway, that's a little trick of the trade. And then I told you about the chindi rug, and this is what it looks like. And all of these different fabrics in here contain or can contain really pretty fabrics. It's kind of like treasure. And then you're left with all this lovely string. And that's what I'm going to use to bind my signatures in. And so I pulled out 3 lengths of green string because the strings are all different colors. And so I was able to pick and choose which ones I wanted. And I like using a needle with a big eye and a blunt, you know, not super sharp tip. So this is pretty blunt, so I'll use that one if I can get the string through it, because it's pretty thick. Okay, I'm gonna get my needle threader. Okay, these are really handy. They even work if you're trying to string beads that with thread, but the needle is too big to go through. So I'm working back to front. I've already poked the holes. So I'm doing a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, and if you've never seen that done before, you go in through the center hole and then the center hole on your cover. My ties are going to get in the way. And you want to leave a tail. Then you go through the top. Then you go through the top hole on your signature. And then down to the bottom. And then through the bottom hole in your cover. And then back through the center, and you want to make sure that you don't splice the thread. Okay. Then you just pull it tight, and you want your thread that you're going to tie your 2 tails on either side of this one that's in the center. Just make sure it's tight, but not so tight that it's going to tear the paper. And then you can tie it in a couple of knots, and then if you like, you can tie it in a bow. Like the bow's small. Okay. That's one signature done. Alrighty, signatures all sewn in. Everything looks really good. And there's a lot of room in between the signatures, which is good because once I fill it with all the embellishments, which I took out to do this part, it'll need to have that much room. Now I want to put something on the front here as well. And I have this little doily and a piece of the same fabric that I used for the tie, and then this leaf, and then a little bit of this lace from up there. So I thought I would put all that together. I'm trying to decide where I want the lace. Maybe I'll do it this way. Yeah, do it that way. And then I had a button that I wanted to put because I want to kind of bring out some of the deeper tones in here. So what I'm going to do is take some of this leftover string, and I'm going to sew this little cluster together, and then I'll glue it on the front. Ta-da! I did it. Alright, so all I really want to do is move this out of the way for a moment. Grab some Fabri-Tac and add my little cover embellishment. And even with the bigger spine, it is still a very chunky journal. But I have to say that I love it. So if you would like to see more of the Ephemerember videos where each one had a prompt and we made a different piece of ephemera for the first 25 days of December, I will leave the playlist linked at the end of this video. You can still follow along with all the Ephemerember prompts because the videos are going to be there forever. Just look for the hashtag Ephemerember 2022 and join in, and you can do it all year long. It's a great way to gather together a bunch of ephemera that you can gain inspiration from and get ideas from for the whole year. And this one is chock full. Anyway, so I hope you like this, and I hope you enjoyed the process. And if you want to see more like this, please subscribe to my channel. And also, if you did like it, please give me a thumbs up. I always appreciate that. And don't hesitate to leave me a note in the comments. I really enjoy hearing from people who have watched my videos. Stay tuned for more inspiration. Have a great day, everybody. Happy crafting, and let the serendipity find you. I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.